Aloha, beautiful souls. Welcome to A Better World with Adrienne. I'm so grateful and excited to be here today for this episode. I feel inspired. I feel inspired to drop in with you about a really important topic that has been really alive for all of my clients. I'm really just noticing it in the collective. And yeah, it's time to just go here. So thank you for pressing play. Thank you for being part of this community. And thank you for carving out the time in your day, in your life, in your one wild, precious life, as Mary Oliver says, to drop in with me and receive. So no matter where you are, where you're tuning in from, I love you. Thank you. And let's dive in. So before we start, let us call upon the altar. The altar is thank you in advance. This is what makes this different from other podcasts. We set the stage for spirit to be here, to change us, to move through me so that we can all move correctly in our deepest truth, in our deepest contribution, in our biggest dream. So on the altar today, I have white hydrangeas that have a tint of pink to them, representing the angelic realm, representing unconditional love of the heart space. I have bright yellow marigolds representing the solar plexus, representing the power all of us have to change our lives. I have an unscented white candle burning, calling in and purifying our space, calling in all healed ancestors and guides, and protecting this channel for the highest timeline and good of all. I have 3 pheasant feathers given to us, a blessing from spirit that you are right on track. I have purple amethyst bringing in the crown chakra, bringing in the third eye chakra, opening up all of the divine downloads. Purple is the color of royalty, remembering that you are royal because you are a child of God, of source, of spirit, of the stars, of the universe. And the final piece of our altar is the element of air, is our deep breaths together. So no matter where you're tuning in from, walking, driving, sitting, dancing, close your eyes if you're able. Inhale through the nose. Hold it at the top and connect our energy together, me, you, and every single person listening. Exhale out the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Feel your ears open, feel your shoulders relax. Exhale out the mouth. Inhale through your nose. Feel the entire energy around you open up. A new portal of magic. Keep holding because you're strong. Bring an intention to this space. To heal, to learn, to level up, to grow, to love, to smile. Exhale out the mouth. Open your eyes if you close them, shake out your arms, and let's dive in. Let's dive into this week's podcast. So this is an important topic that I feel really, really inspired to talk about, and it is intimacy and self-respect on your spiritual path, on your purpose path, on your destiny path. So this topic has come up again and again and again and again in my client spaces, in my one-on-one Voxers I'm having with my clients, in my own life. You know, there's just all of this coming up. about intimacy and self-respect. And what does that even mean in the spiritual path? What does that mean on your destiny path? What does it mean in your purpose path? So I'm going to get into all of that and why it's important, why it matters for you. You know, intimacy is just closeness. Intimacy is closeness. And there is nothing more intimate than your relationship with spirit, than your relationship with source, than your relationship with the universe. Like your relationship with yourself and with spirit is the most important thing in your life. You know, when we think about the intention of this podcast, it's a better world. If everyone had an amazing relationship, respectful, divine relationship with their creator and themselves, we would automatically be living in a better world. We would automatically be living new earth. We would automatically be living in just like abundance, health, wealth, connection. We would automatically be doing all of it. So a lot of the work that I do with my clients, it's very, very intimate. It's very, very intimate. Like when I think about the word intimacy, you know, people associate it with sex. Like, oh, I'm going to be intimate with this person, right? You can have sex with zero intimacy. I did it for years. I did it basically probably 95% of the times I've ever had sex in my life. It hasn't had intimacy attached. It's only had the true intimacy attached when I was in divine union, or I was in a situation where it was like, this is an expression of the divine, right? And intimacy, you know, when we compare it to sex, is, you know, it's like you're revealing everything, right? You're like taking your clothes off and you're allowing this person to see you fully, and is very vulnerable, and it's like, oh, you're going to see every inch of my body. And you know, you might, depending on who you like having sex with and how, like someone might put themselves in you, or you would like put yourself in someone else, or you know, just all of these physical acts of intimacy, which is closeness. It's like, when we think about it from the lens of astrology, I would say the most intimate sign is Scorpio, because Scorpio rules sex. It's literally about merging. It's hardcore merge, like bringing things together. And when I think about intimacy in the spiritual path and the work that I do with my clients, it's incredibly, incredibly intimate. When we're in breath work, it's very, very intimate. You are going deeply intimate with you and your creator and allowing yourself to be seen in that. Like, it's required going to this level of intimacy. Like, it's not some kind of like, I don't know, mindset course or any of these things. And it's not something that I can give you, right? This is something that you cultivate for yourself. Well, what do I do with my clients? I hold space for them to cultivate it with themselves, this intimacy. And, you know, I have this level of intimacy with my own mentors and my own self. And you know, I wrote, why this is coming up right now is because this is what's required for the next layer of your journey, no matter where you are, no matter what your goal is, no matter what you've done so far. It's going to require a deeper level of intimacy from you. And intimacy is a closeness. And I was, you know, this is something that I really experienced. This is a very flowy episode. This is a very free form episode. I experience the most intimacy with myself and spirit when I'm alone, when I'm quiet, when I'm writing, when I'm fasting, when I'm in nature. when I'm in water. And it's this very intimate, quiet, sacred time for me to be with myself, be deeply close to myself and deeply, deeply close to spirit. And I wrote down in my journal the other day, and I was just like reflecting. I was just like staring out into a forest. And it was just, I got this very, very, very clear message. And it was like anything and everything that is separating you from source must go, must be deleted, must be wiped away. Anything that is separating you, anything that is taking you away. So it's got to be deeply deleted. And that's going to create a deeper bond with you in spirit, a deeper union, and a deeper embodiment. This is when you go from like, I remember, I don't know if I remember a very specific moment, but it was like all of a sudden my whole life was a ceremony. My whole life was a ceremony. And when I think about it, it was really a result of me deleting every single thing that was blocking intimacy with myself and with the divine and with my purpose. So when I broke up with the person I thought I'd marry, it was a step towards that. When I lived alone for the first time, it was a step towards that. When I went full in my building my first business, it was a step towards that. When I stopped watching TV, it was a step towards that. And does everybody need to stop watching TV? No. However, I will say, I don't think it's good. Most TV, most shows are designed as escapes, right? And it's one thing to be like, okay, I'm going to watch this movie because it really excites me. It's my inner child, or it's going to be inspirational, or I heard all these amazing things about it. To me, that's different when you're intentionally like, hey, I'm going to go into this experience as a way of, maybe this does create more intimacy with the divine because we learn through story, right? So there's certain movies I watch when I want to be inspired, okay? Or when I want to be reconnected to my inner child, like I'll watch certain movies. But even things like I used to watch New Girl and I used to watch Gilmore Girls. And it's like, when you think about all the subconscious programming that's happening in TV, all the sad stuff, all the marketing, all the words they use, all the music on there, it's like, that is designed, and people don't know they're doing it, but it's like keeping you away from the divine, keeping you away from yourself. The same thing with like anything you do to numb out. Numbing is anything you use to avoid feelings and have instant gratification. That's what numbing is, right? So you can numb with alcohol, you can numb with drugs, you can numb with food, you can numb with TV, you can numb with, anything where you're avoiding a feeling and wanting an instant gratification. That's numbing. And all of that must be deleted for you to have a deeper level of intimacy with yourself and the divine in your spiritual path. So something that's coming up for a lot of clients of mine is health habits. If you're not healthy, that's blocking your relationship to yourself. It's blocking your relationship to the divine. If you're not healthy, you're automatically disconnected from your potential, from your highest purpose, from your destiny path. That must be like the first priority, right? So this is very, very intimate, right? And when we shift into more intimacy, when you shift into more intimacy with yourself and spirit, remember, it's this closeness. How close are you willing to be with yourself? How close are you willing to look? into every single corner of who you are? What about the corner that you don't like, that you're embarrassed about, that you've never told anybody about? What about that? Are you willing to go there? I guarantee no matter what you're working on, it requires a deeper level of intimacy with yourself. And it's from deep self-love. And this is why the work I do matters so much, is because, first of all, I hold amazing space for my clients. Like, I'm a really good coach. I'm a really good mentor. Like, I'm really good at what I do. I have found what I fucking love and become really, really good at it. And I believe that, honestly, the bedrock of all depression, all sadness, like, is that people haven't found that version of that for themselves, and they're not doing it. Every single person I know who's like depressed is also deeply disconnected from themselves and their spiritual path. 1,000%. They're not doing the work in the world they came here to do. And I know that you have that. If you're here, you have that. Are you living it? I don't know. Are you living it consistently? I don't know. But all of these things, it's like, it's an intimacy. It's a closeness. It's a sacred closeness where you shift from, this is something that I do, to this is who I am. And that intimacy and protecting it at all costs. Like, deeply close to yourself, deeply close to your truth, deeply close to your body. And anything that is standing in the way of that, anything that takes you away from that closeness to yourself, has got to go. And it's got to go today. And you know, as you're receiving this episode, what has to go? What has to go out of your life today? And these are the kinds of things, these are the kinds of conversations I have with my clients. You know, most people won't live a life of true intimacy in any way. Because here's the thing, if you're not intimate with yourself, you automatically can't be intimate with someone else. How you do one thing is how you do everything. You are the common denominator, boo. And it really is important. Your relationship with yourself and spirit is the most important thing in your life. Don't let anything tamper with that. Don't let anything sever that. And you get to come back again and again and again and again and again to a deeper intimacy with this. And an intimacy with what it means here today, right now, because it's going to mean different things. It's going to mean different things. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to evolve, right? And yeah, just this topic of intimacy keeps coming up. So I'm just following it. I'm following those golden threads. And I was like, yeah, I want to make a podcast about this. This feels really important. And I actually had another one planned. I have an interview one that I'm going to drop for next week's deep dive. It's all about intimacy. And this is where the doer becomes the deed. You go from doing something to living it. You go from doing something, or like having tasks, to like, I am. You know, it's this intimacy with yourself. There's no separation between yourself and spirit, or spirit and you. And it's this deep intimacy of exploring and excavating and loving and shifting and changing and alchemizing all these different parts of you. Every single corner of your heart, your mind, your body, your soul. The parts of you that is scared, the parts of you that is excited, the parts of you that loves wildly, the parts of you that is a rebel, the part of you that is wildly erotic, the part of you that you know already when you're listening to this episode what your purpose is in this life. You know what your spiritual path is. And it's that part of you that knows. Do you live from that place? Do you make decisions from that place? Okay. Intimacy with self and spirit is, who are you when no one's watching? Who are you when no one's watching? This is the bedrock of what I do. This is intimacy. It's not, oh, they posted this on Instagram, or they, created this big goal and blah, 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 blah. None of that matters if you don't love and respect who you are being when no one's watching. And so this is the level of intimacy and closeness, is like really being in that silence. And like, even as I'm speaking in this podcast, it's like there's more space between the words. And I almost said there's more space between the notes. If you know me and my story, you know that I'm a classical musician. I had a successful career playing classical music. And the rest is sometimes more important than the notes being played. The space between for things to land. The thing about intimacy is you can't be intimate with any part of yourself if you're constantly being inundated with outside information. And this is why I'm such a crazy person about social media and scrolling. And I'm not even a crazy person. I'm just real about it. Like, if you are scrolling on your phone, that's being disconnected from yourself. That's numbing. It's very, very different to go on with specific intention and do it for a specific amount of time rather than scroll. And it's not a fault thing. It is an awareness thing. And it's like, once you know better, you got to do better. Right. And another reason what makes the work that I do with my clients so intimate and so deep, and honestly, why my clients create such massive transformations, is because we don't stay on the surface. We go right to the heart of things. We go right to the root. And none of this stuff is easy to maintain in our world. And that's why we go into the nervous system, because the nervous system has honestly been programmed that being intimate with yourself is unsafe, because it's uncertain, because it's the unknown. And your body only cares about safety, and it creates the story that staying comfortable is staying safe. So if you're comfortable numbing out, like I was for 10 years in addiction, there's no way you're going to stop numbing, because you're going to be like, hey, this is unsafe. Same thing with the phone, and same thing with silence. If you can't meditate, or you say you can't meditate, if you have challenges with meditating is just hanging out with yourself. If you're not able to be alone with yourself for 10 minutes, that's a big deal. That's a problem. That reveals a lack of intimacy with yourself. Same thing with the phone, same thing with all of it. But it's like, I was really just reflecting, and like, speaking of intimacy, I was in silence. I do these things called no input day, where it's like, I can study astrology and all of these things till the cows come home. Like, I can read, I can podcast, I can do all these things. And it's like, it's like if you're eating, and you're full, but you just keep eating, that's how you get sick. That's how you gain weight. That's how you get slowed down. That's how you get sluggish and lethargic. It's like you got to stop. You got to have some space to digest and then allow for your own truth to come in, your own vitality to come in, right? So I was in a silence the other day just reflecting, and that's when all of this stuff came through because I was really just in the exploration of like, what is the thing? What is the thing under the thing? You know what I mean? Like, what's the through line to every single portal of success, transformation, meaningful work in the world? Intimacy is a big part of it. It's a closeness. And something that I keep saying again and again and again. I don't know if you've heard me say it yet on the podcast, but it's not about information. You don't need more information. You got to integrate. You got to be willing to do stuff you can't Google. You cannot Google intimacy. It's an embodied, lived thing with yourself and with the people around you and with spirit. And this really ties into the other thing I want to share on this episode, which is self-respect. And these things are very, very tied with one another. If you're not intimate with yourself, you're never going to really have self-respect. And without self-respect, you're not going to be fully intimate with yourself, with spirit, with your path, with any of it. So self-respect has come up a lot in my life and my clients and my community. And it's especially with this idea of habits and health. Because what I see so much is that at the end of the day, there's something that I call the self-trust gap. Okay. And it goes like this. I also have called it the loop from hell because it truly creates a hell for you, whether you realize it or not. And let me know if this lands as I share it. But you know what to do, but you don't do it. So you start to not trust yourself because you aren't the person you say you are. You don't keep your own word with you. And you do it over and over and over and over in such a way that you start to live a life that you yourself don't even believe in. And then you've lost your self-respect. You've lost your self-respect. To respect something or someone is to have high regard for it. It's to be proud of it. It's to admire it. It's to be like, wow, like I respect that. Like there's not too many descriptors for respect. It's like you really honor and value and like you have high regard for it, right? One of the most important things I realized when I was deciding if I was going to stay on Maui right now or if I was going to come back to the mainland for a while. And I realized I was, again, I'm in silence. I'm staring at the ocean, something to do if you ever want it. Whenever I'm making a decision, I go to nature. I go alone and I go to nature and I just listen and I go somewhere where I can have perspective. And of course, that's going to be water for me, as you know. I was just staring out and I realized if I stayed, I wouldn't even be able to respect myself because it would be going against my values. I was like, I don't even believe in this. and my integrity is everything. People can strip away anything from me, right? Anything can be stripped from my life. What is always with me is my self-respect, my integrity, and my intimacy with my soul and my creator. And I was like, I don't even respect this. I don't even believe in this. And it was like, I'm being very cryptic about all of it. Because, one of what I believe in is I don't believe in sharing things as a leader until it's fully metabolized. It's not correct. And it's not, I can't teach on it if it hasn't been fully metabolized, which is why I'm not sharing all the details. However, what I did realize was like, if I stay, I don't even like respect certain things that are occurring in order for me to stay right now. And it was very, very hard because, like, as I've shared, Maui's my home and I didn't want to leave the ocean. I didn't want to do any of that. And yet I knew it was correct. And so this is the level of intimacy I'm talking about. I realized, okay, if I make that choice, it's literally degrading my soul because I'm losing my self-respect with that choice. And I'm just not willing to do that. I'm not willing to break my values like that. And so it's this idea of like, are you living in a way that you believe in or not? Like, do you say that you value health, but then every day you're engaging in the same unhealthy behaviors that has created poor health for you? Got to clean that up, right? There's self-respect, self-love, and self-trust that all go into the relationship of I am. And you've got to have self-respect. Do the thing that will make you proud in the eyes of your soul and of spirit. Now, other people might not respect it. Okay, great. They don't need to. They're not the authority in your life. You are the authority, and Source is the authority in your life. And so this has been coming up in my clients a lot. It's like, you got to shift into doing the thing that's going to give self-respect. What will you respect? Do that. And this comes back to, who are you being when no one's watching? Who are you being when no one's watching? It's this intimacy and self-respect that's built in the quiet corners of your life. And, when I was standing there at the ocean and I had that realization, I heard a voice, and it might be God, the universe, source, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And I just heard, it's time. It's time. And I was like, okay, it is time. It is time. And then what did I do from that place? I took action on it. And it was crazy because the moment I took action, it was like this big swooping, like, swirl of support energetically. It was like my car sold right away. They found someone for my apartment right away. Like, it was all very quick. And it was like everything just clicked into place for me to relocate. Like, the time between my decision and when I actually was on a plane was 2 weeks, which isn't very long. And this is like, I share my story because I teach a lot from my own experience, and I teach a lot from, okay, what is the energy in the field and what's going to be of service to people and like what lights me up to talk about. And it's like these kind of things. One of the most intimate things I do is this podcast. Like outside my clients, this is the most intimate thing I do. Because I'm letting my channel just channel and be seen and be known. So coming full circle with intimacy and self-respect, it's like on your spiritual path, your purpose path, your destiny path, like all of this determines your ability to walk in your highest purpose. All of this determines your ability to walk your path unconditionally or not. You know, I once did a program called Unconditional, and it was all about radical trust of your path, no matter what you're being guided to. And I have experienced that so much, especially lately. And it's like, without this level of intimacy, you're not going to hear the messages of your soul. You're not going to know what healing is required. You're not going to know what behavior gets to be tweaked. You've got to get quiet and intimate with you and vulnerable. You're going to feel exposed to yourself. And way too many people go their whole life not willing to fully know themselves. You know thyself, right? You've got to drop in with you. And self-respect. Like, do you even respect the way you're living? Because if you're not, then you have a permanent crack in your soul. You have a permanent crack in your self-trust. You have a permanent crack in your relationship with source because you know something and you're not doing it. And therefore you are not living in a way that you respect, right? And it's all of this with deep love and a deep kind of like swift kick of like, this is what it is. If you want to live in your highest purpose, if you want to live in your highest potential, if you want to just walk this life as the spiritual soul creator you are, it's a level of intimacy. It's a level of self-respect, right? That you are 1,000% capable of. You know, every single soul is 100% capable. It's all about choice. It's all about choice. And likely you had this level of intimacy with yourself when you were a kid. And it's about remembering and coming back to that and, deleting everything that's standing between you and yourself, you and source, so that you can live this life of embodiment and self-respect. A lot of people ask me, and they're like, well, I know I'm here for something big, but I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what my purpose is. And I'm like, first things first, you got to get intimate with yourself. Do you even know yourself? Do you even know your heart? Do you even know your soul? Are you living in a way that you respect? Once you get all of that online, then you're really going to start to get some clarity. This is a yes. This is a no. And I sense that a lot of people are waiting for this huge breakthrough moment. It's like, oh, I want this huge breakthrough moment, blah, 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 blah. And I think people see me and they see my big breakthroughs and my big moments, and they're like, oh, that's what it is. But it's like, those moments are a result of millions of tiny, intimate moments with myself. All day, every day. Is this a yes or a no? Yes or no? Okay, checking in. How's my heart? Like all of this. And then acting on the messages I receive from this intimacy to live a life of self-respect. And when you respect yourself, you respect spirit. When you're intimate with yourself, you're intimate with spirit. Why? Because you are God source energy in human form. And it's not this like major like aha moment. I mean, there are moments, but like that moment I was describing at the ocean, I have moments like that all the time with spirit. And it's amazing. And I love my life because of that. Like, I'm so grateful that was created. It's not an accident. I started meditating back in 2015 before I got sober. Yes, it took me 3 years of meditating and still drinking before I actually stopped because I hadn't fully reached that level of intimacy with me. So this is how it all plays into your spiritual path. I hope this served you. I just felt this like rip roaring through my channel. And when I say rip roaring, it was more like a quiet whisper, like, this is what people need to hear right now. This is what people get to hear. This is what I get to hear. It's like whenever I'm sharing something, I'm like, yep, I should do that. Yep, 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 yep. It's like it's me too, you know? It's all of us. So that's today's transmission, just this importancy. Is that a word? The importance of intimacy and self-respect in your spiritual path, in your destiny path, in your purpose path. It's fundamental. Nothing else is possible without this. So if this served you, share this with a friend that you feel like could really, really use this. Write a review. Let me know what landed for you, what really resonated with your soul. And if you want to go deep into this work with me, this intimacy, the daily moments, the daily corners of your soul, really deleting everything that's standing between yourself and spirit, I'm enrolling new one-on-one mentorship clients, and I'm really excited about the amazing leaders, forces of spirit, light, consciousness, love, contribution to walk arm in arm with me in doing this work together. So if that is you, if you are someone who is seeking expansion in your purpose and your spiritual path, that's what mentorship is for. So apply in the show notes if this is you. I can't wait to welcome you. And yeah, that is today's episode. Go out there, be the change, be the light, be the real you. Go make a stranger smile. Be intimate with yourself, like true closeness. And be very aware of who you are when no one's watching. I love you so much. And I will see you next time on A Better World with Adrienne.